Hello and a very warm welcome to a brand new edition of To The Point with me, Frank Pereira, on Rajya Sabha Television. The RBI Governor Raghuram Rajan made a statement last week about how real estate developers need to bring down their prices. That statement was well received by the entire country and also Indians abroad. But there was a certain section that did not like the statement made by Raghuram Rajan. That, of course, is the section of the real estate developers who's thought that, the RBI needs to do something first and there needs to be a little bit of give and take. And to talk about their side of the story, I have with me one of the leading real estate developers in the country, that is DLF's Group Executive Director, Mr. Rajeev Talwar.
Hi.
Mr. Talwar, thank you for joining me on the program. What's your first reaction to the statement made by the RBI Governor, Raghuram Rajan?
Okay, this was a part of a conversation with the chairperson of State Bank of India during one of the conclaves of State Bank. And of course, first reaction, everybody loves any prices going down. So why not? Like you rightly said, the entire country welcomed it. And I think, yes, we would love to inform them that post-2008, prices have actually gone down by 30 to 40%. Real estate prices are down. As you know, there's an unsold inventory. Whenever there is an oversupply in the market, it's obvious that rates of leasing and rates of sale do go down. So it is a given fact that prices of real estate have registered a fall of about 30 or 35% if we take it from the peak 2007-2008 levels. The RBI governor, I'm sure being the economist that he is, cannot be totally wrong that why should prices not go down further if the stocks have to be liquidated. But the chairperson of SBI was talking in a different context. I think what she had said was that they should be allowed to revive the scheme, old scheme, of teaser home loan rates, which is really 8% for the first 2 years, and then they come back to the base rate. And
this is something that was introduced 5 years ago.
5 years ago, it worked very well for State Bank. She also gave a statement that home loans are perhaps the best asset portfolio that any bank can have. Because Indians by nature do not default on a home loan. They'd rather pawn their own jewelry than default on a home loan, because a home is something they invest in as the largest asset during a lifetime. Given that background, the RBI governor further stated that if you introduce teaser home loan rates, then perhaps it will attract new buyers, and the old ones who are existing loanees will not get a benefit. I think that's exactly the point that we would like to emphasize. That with a large unsold stock in inventory, you need new buyers in the market. You need new players in the market, and you need them to come, whether you take a loan or not, you need them to buy new homes which are lying unsold.
So are you saying then there is not going to be any further correction in prices, because you said that the prices have come down by about 30 to 40%?
That's it. I think the moment they open lower rates, which is what the industry has been demanding and which is what by and large the Ministry of Finance has also been recommending. And as you know that there is a division, let's say that, in the RBI committee that should rates or be cut further or not. I think the governor has been making his point for the last few months that first I take a step, then the government needs to react. Second, I've taken a further
Isn't that
step.
fair? Because the governor is clearly saying that you take a step, you bring down the prices, and we'll automatically bring down the base price as well.
No, I don't think he's telling that you bring down the prices, because I'm sure he's well aware that prices are down. In fact, in many places, including the city of Delhi, in a few places, your circle rates are higher than the market prices. So therefore, it's a very clear signal that yes, prices have slumped, prices have gone down. And what we are really coming to is the fact that the governor is saying that each one needs to take a step. So whether it is the government, whether it is the public sector banks, or even the industry, that everyone needs to take a step in tandem with the RBI. So I think he's seen that the government has taken a lot of steps and reforms are underway. The banks have not really passed on all the cuts to their borrowers. So maybe he's telling them to do the same, and telling the industry too that once new schemes are introduced, then offload your stock by lowering your rates. And I think that's a good festive season offering kind of philosophy. That the moment the festive season comes, you find sales everywhere. and prices going down everywhere. I think the same thing will happen in the real estate industry.
It happens with cars, it happens with the automobile industry. So you see that
happens with
happening.
everyone.
Yes.
That wherever there are unsold inventories, people, when they get a good crowd coming in, a good rush coming in, that yes, loans are cheaper, people are willing to buy new homes, then of course the prices and schemes will come out. It may not be that, okay, so-and-so price is down, or there's a discount, but there would be a festive offering, which would say that either some freebies or some price reduction will take place, and therefore stocks will go out.
How long are companies such as yours, DLF, and other major players in the market willing to hold on to unsold inventories?
I think it all depends on the momentum of sales. You're not holding on. Anyone would love to sell. So therefore, there are a number of things which are happening, and I'm sure that you're aware of changes which took place in the real estate industry. A basic thing was, from a time-based payment plan, we all came on to a construction-based
payment plan.
It was really deferring it. You doubled the penalties on yourself for delays. It was really to give back to the customer some more freebies. In many a case, for instance, in our some of our schemes, which were really prime schemes in Gurgaon at that time, I mean, you offered a modular kitchen, appliances, wardrobes, toilets done up totally under and above the counter, that, as they say, that everything was there. You only had to get your soap and toothpaste. So all these schemes,
you'd rather give out freebies than reduce prices, is what you're saying?
They were price reductions, actually. It's actually a price reduction.
In the form of freebies?
In the form of freebies, in the form of actually longer payment plans. You'd even given a double your penalty on your own self. So there were a number of things which actually gave the customer a benefit of something like 30 lakhs to 40 lakhs per flat. So that was a huge reduction by itself on a flat which could be costing you about 1 crore plus or 1.5 crore at best. So all these were schemes which actually, in a way, meant price reduction, rather than saying, and in fact, you'd be surprised that in the times from 2008 to 2011, there was a net reduction in price. Even where flats had been sold at a higher price, prices were reduced to the customer on the face of it. So therefore, these changes, Indian business to that extent is a very adaptive business. It's a very dynamic business regime, and people do change along with it. There's nobody who's stuck on to prices being firm and no changes in prices, reduce whatever else you can. No way. That's not the way Indian industry works.
You know, would you agree then that there is definitely a slowdown as far as the real estate industry is concerned, and something needs to be done to pick it up? Now, the onus, who does the onus lie on, really?
Are you trying to tell me that Rajya Sabha TV does not acknowledge that there's been a slowdown in the Indian economy? We are a part of the Indian economy. We are a major contributor to the GDP. Obviously, if there is a global meltdown and consequently a slowdown in the Indian economy, there will be a slowdown in the real estate industry. And that is why, being one of the largest employers and contributors after agriculture, that is why the emphasis and focus on real estate, that not only the RBI in this instance, but also the public sector banks, also the government and the entire industry come forward and tackle a major event which has taken place globally and in India since 2008. I think everyone's live to it, so are we.
So how are you going to lure a potential investor or a buyer going forward? Because, you know, there are several reports that I read. One report, of course, was the Magic Bricks Index that spoke about how the growth rate from 2013 to 2015 has just been 1.7% in the industry, whereas 2011 to 2013 saw a great growth rate of 12%.
Correct. So various things to tackle it. Of course, the first thing is that you offer a clean title. You offer a building which is well supplied and which meets the aspirations of the homeowner who's going to live there. Provide a good environment and the amenities which are really now related to a modern living. I mean, whether it be walking to work, whether it be a good infrastructure, whether it be a good environment within the complex, or easily available entertainment, leisure, retail, shopping, all of them put together, which you will see in some, which is what we'll probably call in future smart cities, or what we will call new cities which are springing up. There are two satellite cities of Delhi, Gurgaon as well as Noida, who have provided these very successfully, and they've taken the pressure off from Delhi. And I'm sure Navi Mumbai is coming up in Mumbai. There's Rajarhat coming up in Chennai, in Kolkata. There's OMR coming up in Chennai. So all these, Bangalore is well known. Bengaluru is a well-known city which is now developing on the outskirts, Whitefield and what have you. So all these cities are making attempts, and therefore the industry will take all steps to meet the aspirations and make housing as affordable as possible, given the fact that interest rates are high, loans are taken at a higher rate, land prices don't go down because that is the government system of disposal, that land prices always keep on going higher, they don't go down. And that's a big problem for all the authorities which function in urban local bodies. Then how do they lower prices of land?
Talking about land prices and land prices going up, do you believe that people still look at real estate as an asset?
Yes.
Okay.
In fact, I think it's the biggest asset a human being builds during his lifetime, whether for himself or to pass it on as legacy. It's a major asset. It's not. It's much more than a television or a car or a motorbike that you buy. You make this investment once in a lifetime to begin with, and if God is kind, you make an investment again to provide an extra buffer. So it's a great asset class. And in fact, as you said, that even during 2011 to 2013, the growth was so high. I think we were at the height of our slowdown. And therefore, for people to invest more and more into housing just reflects the fact that psychologically, it's not only an asset psychologically, it's also the best financial asset.
All right. On that note, we'll slip into a short break, but we'll continue talking to Mr. Rajeev Talwar on the other side. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha Television in conversation with Mr. Rajeev Talwar of DLF. Mr. Talwar, do you believe that in some way the words of Raghuram Rajan last week have affected the real estate industry? I say that because do you believe that, a potential buyer or an investor is now waiting for that market correction really to take place before he invests?
I've been hearing that for the last 6 years, that the buyer is waiting for prices to correct more and more and more. I think it reflects on our general economy. Is there a lack of confidence that, yes, prices are going to slump? Is there a slowdown coming? Are prices crashing? Because otherwise, in a booming economy with a good GDP growth rate, people should always say that, look here, as far as I can see, if prices are down, let me make an investment. What will happen? It will be like a script. It may go down for a while, but in the long term, a 10-year window, it will go up. So therefore, it's a good investment when you can afford it. And I think that's what should really happen. I'm sure that this is a sentiment like everyone else has been expressing about various arms of the economy. The RBI is one, the government is another, the public sector banks are the third, and industry. In this case, real estate, it can be the automobile industry, it can be the tire industry, it can be infrastructure industries, it can be cement, steel. Every industry goes through a cycle, and I think he's talking about one of those cycles pertaining to one industry. I'm sure we are alive to it. I'm sure we'll focus on it. And if there is anything to be given, a better product to be given to the buyer at a more reasonable price, I'm sure industry will take that effect and will make that effort, because the idea is to contribute to the national GDP, to the national employment register, and to involve all industries, which is a natural consequence of the growth of real estate. It has been said euphemistically that it has an effect on 200 industries which contribute to it. So I think if that is true, then I'm sure real estate players would love to contribute as much as possible, not only to the comfort of buyers, who are their main providers, but also to other industries who supply to them.
The real estate industry is linked to a lot of black money, and this government has been very strict when it comes to black money. And over the last year, we've seen that, the norms have only become stricter and stricter.
Absolutely.
So how much of an impact is that really having on the slowdown to the real estate industry?
May I pose you a counter question?
Sure.
Who needs black money in the real estate industry? Real estate industry does not profit or does not prosper on black money. I'm sure that when you talk of black money, the real estate players would love to grow bigger. If they have to grow bigger, they can only grow bigger in the mainstream economy and not in the parallel economy. Therefore, there is let's do some soul searching in the country. Who is getting this black money into real estate, if there is any? Obviously, it's not the real estate players. It's
No,
somebody else's money.
It might not be the real estate players, but
It
they
might
are
not.
indeed,
No, let's see. Whom do you think it is?
Let's look at a hypothetical situation. Now,
Yeah.
the buyer, of course, is trying to buy a few flats.
Yes.
He's investing money. Now, if the laws have become stricter,
It's good.
then he's not going to buy those properties.
Why not? He's going to buy. You mean to say that the buyer has black money?
Possibly.
Where does he get it from? There are mainly salaried class people who buy property. After all, affordable housing and the large amount of housing which is going to be made in this country is bought by salaried people or business people from their white money. So it's not, and who uses that black money? And what is the use of black money in real estate? Is it meant?
So are you saying that there's no black money in the real estate
There
industry?
is. I'm sure what you're saying cannot be wrong. If there is black money, let's see who is the end user of it.
So how are we
I
going,
don't think one can.
how
really,
are we going to identify this? Is the onus on
I think it's
on the
well
government?
identified. I think it's well identified, and therefore all of us welcome the strictness, because all of us in the real estate industry would love to deal only in checks, because that's what gets you the real price of land. It's not an inflated price of land which comes in black money. You don't have, if the systems of approvals are okay, you don't need to pay out anywhere. If political funding is okay, then why would there be any black money? It would go by check, in which many players in the industry and many players across all industries do so. They contribute by checks today to even political funding. I mean, that's a system which is now developing, and I'm sure that more and more strictness against black money will only increase the size of the mainstream Indian economy. I think you and I have seen in our lifetimes that just the growth of India from a sub-trillion dollar economy to a $2 trillion economy and hopefully a $3 trillion economy has made so much of a lifestyle difference. We all have benefited by more and more mainstream economy growth. So I'm sure whether it is the real estate industry or whether it is any other industry in India, infrastructure included, would really welcome strictness against black money and the growth of the mainstream economy.
So you're saying that the black money bill that the government is so keen on introducing and bringing out, and also the Benami transactions bill,
is a very good thing.
Is a very good thing for the industry, and it's going to help the industry on the whole, is
It
what you're
will
saying.
help every industry. It's time that we all, in fact, nurtured the dream which the Prime Minister announced last year, that yes, can India become a $20 trillion country? You must know that about $80 trillion is the entire size of the global economy, out of which, as is usually heard, 16 trillion is the GDP of USA, 10 trillion is the GDP of China. Perhaps maybe 10 to 15 trillion would be the GDP, or maybe even more, of the OECD countries. With a population of 1.27 billion, isn't it time for India to grow? And if we have to grow, it is much better that we grow in the mainstream economy and not in the parallel economy of black money. So therefore, any Indian, and especially younger Indians, I'm sure 60% or 70% below the age of 35, would welcome growth against black money into
yes.
the mainstream
Anyone
economy.
Anyone would.
So would we.
Talking about bills, there is the real estate bill that is going to come up.
Yes.
What is your take on the real estate bill? How much of an impact do you think it's going to have on the industry?
Okay, I would rather first talk about the bill, if you permit me. The bill, I believe, is for the middle class, by the middle class, and only of the middle class. Because it does not cover the poor at all. 90% of the demand in this country is going to be of affordable housing. Affordable housing is really for people who would like homes below 25 lakhs. If that be the case, then why would the bill not cover them? It doesn't cover anyone below 500 yards. It doesn't cover unauthorized colonies. It doesn't cover anyone who's living in slums. So is it only against a builder bill? And I take it as yes, that it is. It is against the past sins. And therefore a past record is being set right by the bill, which is that fly-by-night operators used to come. They very often used to announce projects without even owning the land. They used to change a project midway They may have indulged in sales without all approvals being there, which is being tackled by the bill very effectively.
Yes.
They provided lesser amenities. There was a confusion about carpet area and super area. So I think this bill is really trying to tackle all those ills. But if there has to be a game changer, my own personal view, which may not really be favored by the industry even also right now, is that we should allow sales of projects only after the superstructure is complete.
That's fair. That's a very, very fair point. That's a valid point that you're raising. Is this something that you've communicated maybe to the stakeholders?
To the stakeholders, we're also trying to tell the government that if you allow sales of a project only after the superstructure is ready, there are numerous advantages. There's no question of fly-by-night operators. Everyone will have to put his skin into the game, just like every industrialist does. When you're setting up a small factory or a big factory, you do contribute your own money, which could go into the purchase of land, for instance. You would take in money from banks to have a project coming up. Therefore, what the customer is offered would really be seen by him before his eyes. It's not something which is only sold by perspective. It is something which is visible to you. I'm sure once the superstructure is ready, whether it's a commercial building, whether it is a retail building, or the toughest, even if it is a residential building, it would be ready in 3 years, which is what we usually promise but don't deliver. Because your approvals take so much of time, your industry swings and cycles take time, and your employment cycles may take time. For instance, Manrega was a very major depleter of workforce. Then mechanization may take time. So all these ills would be removed if you allowed sales only after the superstructure was ready.
Indeed.
And there would be no question of someone being sold a balcony or someone being sold a flower bed or the parking not being there. Everything would be visible. It would be so much more easy to even judicate on such sales.
And very transparent as well.
Very transparent.
Okay.
So I really feel that we need to make this one change and then bring in the regulator.
All right. Let's talk about one last final thing on the program before we wrap it up,
Yes.
of course. DLF is into smart cities and building of smart cities. And, India is soon going to have standardization as far as smart cities are concerned. So, I mean, what kind of standardization are we going to see? Because BIS is going to come up with this standardization. So what kind of standardization are we talking about?
I think the Ministry of Urban Development has made a very good start. I personally had the good luck to hear the Secretary of Urban Development make a presentation on the principles of smart cities. And while we feel that, yes, we've made a certain attempt in Gurgaon, which is the new part of Gurgaon, which is coming up and coming up successfully. It's got modern transport coming up, modern road systems coming up, good tenements, which will be high-rise only. These coming up, a good environment coming up, leisure, retail, offices, all in walking distance, which cuts down the need for personalized modes of travel. And OFC cable network, all spread all over the city. We feel that once the Ministry of Urban Development makes investments, which it is making in 100 cities, and also there's standardization, we'll get to see a new class of Indian cities coming up. More livable, definitely more sustainable. We'll have new systems of disposal, new systems of recycling and reusage. So more environment friendly, more eco-friendly, and obviously more citizen friendly.
Correct.
So we feel that these measures, the standardization will have to be worked out. BIS and the Ministry of Urban Development, town planners, urban city planners will all be working together. But we are really trying to ensure a better quality of life. I think that's what we'll be working towards.
That's what you're striving for, and that's what everyone wants as well. And
everyone's looking forward to.
Yes, on that note, we'll have to call it a wrap on this edition of To The Point. Thank you so much, Mr. Talwar, for being with us on the program.
Great pleasure talking to you, Frank.
Having you on the show.
Thank you.
That's all the time we have. Thank you so much for watching. See you again next time. Bye-bye.